Hello everybody, and we're back. Why am I live streaming so often? Because honestly, I don't really have anything better to do with my time, so I might as well come on and just share my rambling with the world, as it were. So, we're going to be doing just an Empire at War, a chill Empire at War stream. I'll do a campaign of your choice, because there's not really a particular one I'm doing at the moment. So I'm just going to go and post this, because people keep asking me to. Let's see here. Okay. So I'm sure people will start filtering in. So just for before we kind of get into anything else, this is the current project I'm working on. I like to have something really large on the go just to work on when I get the chance to feel like I'm going somewhere. So this is going to be a big project once I get to it, like I said. So this is I'm trying to build a timeline of the post-Endor Imperial Civil War. So I'm gonna probably do this in like 4 parts maybe, from like Endor to Isard, Zinj to Thrawn. Dark Empire might be entirely its own part, and then the formation of the Remnant and kind of to the Bastion Accords, or the Pelion Gavrisson. I can never pronounce his name. Pelion Chicken Man. A lot of people are going to, I don't know, get upset that I miss stuff, but it's a really big timeline. It's like 20 plus years of novels I have to cover. This is the best timeline software I can make, and it's not very good because I can't really like reorder this stuff very well, but it kind of is what it is. Let's see here. The stream is low. The stream is always low. Stream is always just awful. It's Canadian internet's just really bad. Maybe you just can't stream off of Wi-Fi. I don't know though. It's tricky. I can try lowering my bitrate, but I really don't want to. I know, it's weird because on this side it says there isn't really an issue with the streaming speed, but it says there is an issue with the streaming speed on the other side. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Let's see. As viewers will experience buffering. Maybe it's just like a YouTube thing. Maybe it's like bugged YouTube mechanics or something like that. Anyways, so let's switch over to Empire at War, Imperial Civil War mod. So I had kind of wanted to do one when I guess it's finished its whole, because they're in the middle of kind of redoing this. They're trying to they're going to release 2.2 eventually. The issue with that is who knows if they're ever actually going to release it, because they keep saying they're going to release it, but it never seems to actually come out. So yeah, who knows. Let's see here. Why won't this adjust properly? Okay. Fuck me. Okay, so that doesn't want to properly adjust, so let me just make this bigger. There we go. Alright then, so let's pick out a campaign for us to do. Let me just stop and restart and see if that fixes the streaming. Okay, let me see if that fixed it. Streaming can be kind of shitty, TBQH. It just kind of stops working sometimes. Anyways, so Let's see, what campaign should we play today? So there's a whole bunch of different ones. We have Fractured Empire. The Stars Align, which is immediately post Endor. We have Fractured Empire, which is Stars Align the entire thing. I think that might be the entire game. We have the Fractured Empire, which is where we have Isard ruling over it. We have the Hunt for Zinj, which deals with the campaign of Warlord Zinj. Obviously, we have Thrawn's campaign, which my understanding is the most balanced campaign. Empires at War, I don't know why that's even in there. Let's see here. Into the Cluster, which is... I believe that this is just another Zinj campaign. Operation Shadow Hand, which is kind of the Imperial Curb Stomp. We have Daala's campaign, the Black Fleet Crisis, Reunification on Admiral. I'm not good enough to play on Admiral. So I will just play on Captain. So we'll play Imperial Remnant on Captain. I'm not like terrible on this game. Okay, so we have 1 vote for Shadow Hand. Sorry, I'll just go back. We have 1 vote for Shadow Hand and 1 vote for Reunification. So next vote determines the campaign. So I'll just give people a second for a campaign vote. I'm leaning towards Reunification because Reunification is just a lot shorter and I can probably get most of the way through it. So this is featuring Odysee Daala, the Thought-in-Chief, who is absolutely probably the worst commander the Empire ever had, which is saying a lot considering just the endless stream of poor leadership they suffered from. So I actually have a decent amount of money, so I'm going to build a couple Victory 2s to start off with. And Kessel's a pretty wealthy planet, so
building under
I'll
construction.
turn it into an economic world, probably. Oh, I start off with a couple decent planets. Okay. So let's see here. I'll start off by building a
Vehicle in
couple
production.
Vindicators. So that'll hopefully give me... Sometimes there's some bugs when I'm doing when I'm doing these. So like for this campaign, the hologram for Daala is broken, so I have to reload. So let's see here. Let me just look at the chat. Okay, so Imperial Reunification. So what wound up happening is Fleet Admiral Daala, the only woman in the Imperial history to reach the rank of Admiral, for good reason. Yeah, so Fleet Admiral Daala was the lover of Grand Moff Tarkin. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about her background. So Daala joined the Imperial Navy. She went to the officer school. I don't think women were per se barred from serving in the Imperial Navy, but it was very strongly discouraged. It was just the Empire was frequently referred to as being built on human supremacy. Get it? Human supremacy? Ha ha ha. But yeah, so the Empire was built on human supremacy, so they just... Women were not barred from serving in the army, but it was just very strongly discouraged. So Daala was went to school, and she apparently did fairly well in the Imperial Academy. In particular, she wrote a lot of stuff on the Tarkin Doctrine. Now, I forget exactly what the Tarkin Doctrine is, but my understanding is the Tarkin Doctrine is based on just rule by terror and overwhelming force. And I ultimately kind of see it as a failure because dissolving the Imperial Senate and blowing up Alderaan with the Death Star kind of massively backfired. Even a lot of formerly loyal Imperials thought it went too far. I mean, Alderaan was not only a core world, but it was one of the oldest and most respected of the core worlds. And to see the Empire kind of callously blow up what was like this pacifist planet was just regarded as people were just utterly horrified by it. Like I said, even like the most loyalist officers were just utterly disgusted by their actions during that. Are you an Empire Rebel Scum supporter? I'm a Rebel supporter, which I guess makes a lot of people weird given my political views, but even the New Republic isn't exactly what we would kind of identify as liberal democracy. Because the member worlds all have basically 100% autonomy in how they determine government. So some worlds are republics, some worlds are monarchies, and some worlds are hive planets. So
vehicle in production.
There's that. The other thing is the Empire destroyed a lot of the local cultures. The Empire's kind of it is very fascist. It's very, like, I guess you could say progressive in its outlook, in that it really tried to, like I said, do away with a lot of kind of the local cultures in favor of kind of a uniform galactic culture, which is normally called human high culture movement, which was kind of at the center of it. I also disagree with human supremacism, because you can't have human supremacism in a state that's majority non-human. It just isn't, like, viable, which is just kind of my issue with it. So there's kind of two ways you can go about this campaign. You can either go after the Republic first, or go after the other Imperial Warlords first. I like to take at least a couple Republic worlds, just because the Warlords are very powerful. Can you play as Pelion in this game? Yes, you can play as Pelion in a couple of the different ones. Okay, Dalek Zag says it's actually based on fear of force rather than a direct use of it. Okay. Thank you. So if anybody likes to watch these streams, if you really want to help me out, you can follow me on Twitch and maybe watch these on Twitch, because I've gotten most of the way there to be a affiliate. All I really need is to have 3 concurrent viewers for about a month on stream, and then I can do that.
Star Destroyer reporting in.
Just because then I can start, like, bullying people into giving me bits and subs. Because I'm sure a lot of people here just have Amazon Prime, and if they want to support me, they could just give me subs with no without having to really pay anything extra. So my favorite faction in this game is the New Republic, actually. Can you post a link to my Twitch? Okay, sure. I'll post a link to my Twitch channel. Even if you just follow me, that helps. That helps out. I'm never gonna, like, go full-time Twitch or, like, any of that nonsense, but it might be
one mistake to get your resume trashed. Get a mistake-free resume.
Let me just find it. They don't make it easy, do they? Then again, nothing is really easy. Oh, thanks, guys. So I do have unified chat. So if you look at the stream, the Twitch chat also appears in the stream chat. So you can look at either one. They both work equally well. So I dual stream and that kind of thing. So anyways, back to Odysee Daala. You're going to play 2.2 next week? Yeah, I'm definitely going to play 2.2 when it comes out. I've been looking forward to it. I was going to hold off on doing more, but I don't really have any confidence that they're going to release 2.2 next, like they're actually going to release it. I mean, they're doing it for free, so I guess I can't really complain, but just in general, they tend to push it off. Anyways, back to Odysee Daala. So yeah, so she wrote on the Tarkin Doctrine. She was also known, isn't it against Twitch's rules to stream on YouTube and Twitch? I don't think it is, actually, and if it isn't, then I don't know. I doubt anyone would care, given the size of my channel. I'll look that up at some point, but I mean, it is what it is. Nothing I can really do about it at the moment, but I digress. So let's see here. So we're just moving forward. It is only if you're a partner. I don't think it is if you're an affiliate. I'll never become a partner, probably. Did you ever complicate going full-time streamer 24/7 as your ultimate fallback? I feel like your stream of conscious commentary would have a niche. No, but if I ever, like, when I move out and I move to downtown Toronto, I don't have to commute 3 times a day. I'd probably, sorry, 3 hours a day, I'd probably stream more. It would be nice if I could make a couple bucks off of it. I mean, my primary income is always probably going to just be working. Hey, in the Imperial cabinet. Sorry, yeah, she did, Cornhorn. Cornhorn, are you named after Cornhorn from the Rogue Squadron novels? Just out of curiosity. So I really like the Rogue Squadron novels. If people like, at some point I could do a series just on my favorite extended universe books, like just telling you where to start or where the best Star Wars novels are. I'd actually put like one of the reboot ones on it. I really like the new Thrawn novel. Probably because they got Timothy Zahn to write it, and Timothy Zahn is... If anyone was... Well, he came up with Thrawn, so obviously he could do the character justice. And no, Timothy Zahn is really good. Just off the top of my head, I'd probably recommend the Thrawn trilogy, obviously. I like Dark Empire a lot. A lot of people don't like Dark Empire because it's so over the top and insane. But I like that aspect of it. It's also kind of nice to have Palpatine back. So that's pretty good. I like the courtship of Princess Leia a lot. One of the reasons it gets such a bad rep is because it involves Han Solo kidnapping Leia and basically taking her to Dathomir. No, it's like, let me talk about the premise of... what was I thinking of again? Sorry, I completely lose my train of thought sometimes when I'm doing this. So yeah, one of the things about Daala is... Avenger? What is that called, the Avenger? Is there a link to your Twitch? There we go. Thank you, guys. What was I thinking of? Okay, yeah, so basically Han Solo and Leia's relationship had kind of cooled off, just they were so busy in the post-Endor period. And they were trying to get the Hapes Consortium, which is kind of one of the larger independent factions in Star Wars. It was founded by a group of pirates, and basically they've selectively bred over the centuries to become the most, like, beautiful human race in the galaxy. And the prince of it was basically trying to hint to Leia that she would have to marry him, and if she married him, then the Hapes Consortium would join the Republic, and Leia was kind of charmed by him. And Han was like, no, I'm not going to allow my waifu to be whisked away by some pretty boy pirate. So he kidnapped Leia and he took her to Dathomir. Now what happened was, part of what the Prince of the Hapes Consortium was offering was that... I've never really played Forces of Corruption. But yeah, they were offering a colony world that they could use as New Alderaan, that they could resettle the Alderaanian refugees. So that was part of the reason that they were Leia was just considering marrying him, so that could happen. So Han was like, okay, I gotta outdo this dude. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a planet for the Alderaanian refugees to settle on. So the dude decides, I'm going to go out and get my own planet. And he does. So he goes out and he wins Dathomir in a card game. He plays Sabak. He wins a fucking planet in a card game to oppress Princess Leia. How alpha is that? That's like one of the most alpha things I've ever heard. So Leia isn't like that impressed with it. She's like, I don't know, Han. So Han kidnaps her and takes her to Dathomir. And basically he's like, we're going to sit here until you agree to marry me. Because you're the love of my life, Leia, and I'm not going to let you go. So the whole courtship of Princess Leia happens, and like Zinj winds up showing up because he was using Dathomir as his super secret base, and so they wind up taking Zinj down. It's kind of cool how Han did it. Basically, he attached the Millennium Falcon to the bottom of Iron Fist, which was Zinj's Super Star Destroyer. So he attached it to the bottom of Iron Fist, and then after that happened, Han's when Iron Fist went up into orbit and activated the deflector shield, Han was within the deflector shield, so he just flew calmly up to the Iron Fist bridge and famously said, "Kiss my Wookiee." Yeah, kiss my Wookiee. And then he fired a bunch of concussion missiles and blew it up. And that's how he killed Zinj, who was probably the most successful of the post-Imperial warlords. He managed to get something like, I think, a third of the galaxy under his direct control, following the collapse at Endor. Basically until Thrawn showed up, he was the biggest. Until Palpatine showed up. Something I think people don't realize about Thrawn is Thrawn didn't really have very much in the way of. Thrawn didn't have very many soldiers because very few. Dalek Zeg says by volume of territory only. Yeah, Zinj conquered a lot of territory, but he was kind of limited in the amount of forces he had. Thrawn did not have very much in the way of support, largely because of the fact that he was a Chiss, and the human supremacists didn't trust him. Also, all the warlords were really greedy, but his tactical genius allowed him to win, despite being vastly outnumbered, which is kind of the interesting thing about him. So, the Republic thought he had a much larger navy than he actually did. Shinjan Ron, can I still get Sonic Adventure 2? Yeah, I just forgot about it. I'll get that to you just as I'm doing this. Sorry. What was I thinking about again? That hot game, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Will you do more lolcow manifestos? If you want to send me some lolcow manifestos, I'll read through them. I just can't think of any off of the top of my head. Sonic Adventure 2. Just pull this up. Can I get Pillars of Eternity? Yeah, so I'm not going to turn this into a shout-out stream, but if there is something you want from the game list, just let me know, and I'll send that out. Let's see here. So, yep, you can just have whatever it is you're interested in. So Dusty Dead wants Pillars of Eternity, so I'll give that out. By the way, guys, these codes have all been used already. So, I don't know, you can maybe show them off to your friends. Ooh, and we got a super chat. And the super chat says, for the tax fund, also for all the great content. Thank you. Okay, let me just, there's a voice clip I just want for this. Let me see here. I refuse to call the new version canon, so I just call it the reboot, because I don't know, it's nonsense. So Rancid, just send me a message. I'm too lazy to look you up at the moment. And as for that super chat, all I have to say to that super chat is
thank you. And fuck you.
Exactly. That's all I have to say to that. So back to Daala. So Daala apparently did really well in the Imperial Academy. Rancid, you can message me anywhere. Because of her work on the Tarkin Doctrine and just a bunch of the other stuff she did. However, she was noted as taking massive losses in all of her simulations, and that she could only win with overwhelming numerical force. which is kind of a bad sign. I mean, I don't think that's really a good strategy to just like. So it's like if you can win, if you have an overwhelming advantage, and even then she'd take disproportionately high casualties. Now, the fact that she was considered like top of her class and one of the best strategists the Imperial Navy ever produced, I think really says something about the quality of candidates that they were employing in it. So Daala graduated, and she was found by Tarkin. They had assigned her correctly, in my opinion, to basically working as a cook on a ship, despite graduating so highly in the Navy because of her gender. So Tarkin found her, and she started to talk to Tarkin about her views on the Tarkin Doctrine. And as part of that, Tarkin and her got together because she was a really hot, fiery redhead. And as she would later say, Tarkin was really good in bed despite his age. So they started sleeping together, and Tarkin kept promoting her. Actually, there was one guy who said that she only got to her position by sleeping with Tarkin. Now, Tarkin never denied this charge, but he killed the man who said it by putting him into a spacesuit and leaving him in a decaying orbit with the comm channel open so the rest of his crew could hear him begging for mercy. But still, he never denied the charges. So Daala was given command of the Maw, and the... Oh, yeah, no problem, Sean. Happy to give to help a brother out. What was I thinking? Yeah, so she is given command of the Maw. So the Maw is near Kessel, and it is a group of huge black holes. And it is kind of in the eye of the storm. It's like where the gravitational pull of the various black holes kind of cancel each other out. So that's kind of what the Maw is, and there's a bunch of like little planetoids in it, and they built this ultra-secret Imperial research facility there. So that's where they developed at least part of the Death Star, and Tarkin left her there and ordered her to create a new super weapon while he went off to do stuff. And she was unaware that the Empire had basically fallen. She was unaware of Tarkin's death and that kind of stuff. So in the intervening time, she had developed, along with the best scientists in the galaxy, the Sun Crusher. So the Sun Crusher cost 3 times as much as the Death Star to develop. So the Sun Crusher is about the size of like a B-wing or a heavy fighter, and it has resonance torpedoes. So resonance torpedo will cause a star to go supernova and destroy the entire system, which is just how powerful it was. So yeah, so a resonance torpedo would blow up a system. It could also be fired at a planet to destroy the planet directly. So that was developed. However, due to her, it also had sort of quantum nano armor nonsense, which made it completely immune to all damage. So she had developed this super weapon. However, due to her incompetence, Han Solo and Kip, I think his name was Kip Dameron, succeeded in stealing the Sun Crusher. And they used the Sun, and so yeah, so they got away with the Sun Crusher. And the location of the Maw was exposed. So the Empire lost their ultimate super weapon, which was more powerful than the Death Star, and had taken like 20 years and trillions of credits to develop due to her incompetence. So Daala decided then it was her job to single-handedly win a war against the New Republic. And she's like, no, I'm going to do this myself, guys. This is totally going to work out. So she started out by launching a battle against Dathomir. And she succeeded in destroying a refugee colony of 50 civilians. And that was the only victory of her entire career, was blowing up a refugee colony of 50 civilians. Is that the Avenger? Okay, so I'm going to lose one Imperial class. That's not that big a deal. This is taking Mon Calamari. This is like the most important Republic world in this game. So it's okay if I lose one doing this. Yeah, so she was able to blow that up, and then she had an offensive against Mon Calamari. Which is probably actually makes sense. I mean, Mon Calamari is the main shipyard that the Republic Navy used. So she used apparently a fairly predictable tactic of Tarkin's, which Admiral Akbar was there and he happened to remember it from it being used before against him. So he was able to blow up one of her Star Destroyers. She lost another one at the Maw when Han Solo drove the Sun Crusher through the bridge of a second Star Destroyer, and it got sucked into the Maw. So that was another success of her career. So then after that, there was another... I'm trying to remember how she lost the other Star Destroyers. Right, so then her plan, because she had lost half her fleet, was to fly both remaining Star Destroyers into Imperial City and put them on self-destruct and basically blow Coruscant up. And that was going to be her ultimate plan. However, Kip Dameron showed up with the Sun Crusher and destroyed one of her remaining Imperial-class Star Destroyers in the Battle of the Witch Head and the Battle of the Cauldron Nebula. Okay, I've lost this battle. I need to retreat before Daala gets killed. I think I inflicted disproportionate losses. It's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, I definitely lost this one. Let me see if both Imperial... No, only one Imperial got away? Why did the second Imperial... Okay, I'm going to reload because that's bullshit. The other one had in-functioning engines. It should have been able to get away. Okay, so I'm just going to reload. Fuck that.
System control achieved.
So I think that's probably okay for the moment. I'm just going to keep building some stuff up in the meantime.
Beginning construction.
I have Kessel. I don't really need more ground forces. Problem is I don't really have enough to launch an offensive against the Warlords at the moment. Unit. So I'm just going to keep building it up. I've taken a couple planets so my pop cap is higher. What I'm probably going to do is build some more TIE Defenders. So where was I? Yeah, so then the New Republic showed up at the Maw.
Reporting.
And the scientists at the Maw activated the Death Star prototype. The hope being that the Death Star prototype they could use to fight off the Republic fleet. However, the Death Star prototype had no defensive lasers and hadn't been calibrated, so it couldn't fire on ships. They tried to use it anyways, and they missed Kessel. They were going to blow Kessel up, but they succeeded in missing a... They missed blowing up a planet, which is just how inept they were. And then Daala wound up blowing up the Maw to save all of the... wasn't she a teenager when... let's see here. Imagine if Thrawn got his hands on a Super Star Destroyer. And wasn't she a teenager when Tarkin started dicking her? I think she was, actually. What was I thinking about again? Yeah, so...
Cruiser reporting. We're on the move.
Where was I? I think I was talking about the... Yeah, so Daala lost that fleet. Once again, due to her incompetence. The Maw got blown up. And then she went into the deep core after basically losing the Empire's most important research installation and letting her entire fleet be destroyed due to her continual incompetence. And that was kind of only the beginning of Daala's failures. So she wound up kind of bouncing from Warlord to Warlord, really not sure what she was supposed to do. And ultimately, though, I think the only good thing you can say about her is she never stopped viewing the New Republic as their ultimate enemy. She despised all the infighting between the various warlords. So she was leading a fleet to attack Pterodac's fortress, and there was just a big slug match between a bunch of the remaining Imperial factions. So Daala got really pissed off about it, and Pterodac's fleet was being commanded by then Vice Admiral Pelion, and she basically said, "Look, I'm going to self-destruct and kill the warlord of the attacking fleet unless you two agree to a ceasefire and to have negotiations." So the two warlords she was able to basically bully into going to a peace conference. So Daala got all the deep core warlords to stop fighting one another and go to this peace conference with the hope that they would be able to, I guess you could say, kind of come to terms to... I'm just going to save before I do this, because this could be disastrous. Okay, just save. Yeah, so they were going to go to a peace conference that she was going to host. And kind of the issue that wound up happening when they went to the peace conference is the admirals all just started arguing with each other and bickering and that sort of thing. And none of them were really willing to talk to one another. And so after 3 hours and their failure to agree to anything, even to elect a new leader, Daala gave Pelion a gas mask. And she's like, look, I'm going to deal with this my way. So because of her failed efforts to host a real peace conference, she actually wound up succeeding better than she should have, because she just nerve-gassed all the warlords. And as kind of being the highest ranked person left, she became de facto ruler of the empire. It's interesting because she didn't really want to become de facto ruler of the empire. But the warlords had done such an atrocious job that there was really no one else to do it. So one of the things she took from the warlords was Nighthammer. And Nighthammer was a super star destroyer. No, sorry, it wasn't a super star destroyer. It was a stealth super star destroyer. Some lunatic had covered an entire star destroyer. Ian just sent me a message somewhere, and I'll send you that. Yeah, some lunatic had successfully covered a super star destroyer with stealth plating and given it an intact stealth generator. Now, unfortunately, due to her incompetence and the plot armor of the Jedi, she lost it during her attempt to destroy the Jedi Academy on Yavin 4 when it got pulled into the star. But just think about that for a minute. Like, I keep bringing up, but a stealth super star destroyer. So she lost it. She lost a good portion of her fleet without inflicting any losses on the New Republic. And basically everyone was like, Daala, you're just completely inept. So she cried and was like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm going to rage quit the Imperial Navy. And she made like the only good decision of her career. She promoted Pelion to be full admiral, and she said, you're in charge of the Imperial remnant now. I'm going to go off, and you can just rule the Empire now. You can deal with this. So that wound up happening. And it was just and immediately after that, and I'll deal with this when I go through the Imperial Civil War, but the Arinda campaign happened, and Pelion managed to actually retake a couple sectors and kind of stabilize the situation. But Daala wasn't really done with her blatant incompetence and basically being a troll. So what had kind of happened is Pelion had managed to stabilize the front, and things were looking pretty good for the remnant. I mean, there was no hope that they'd ever be able to beat the New Republic at this point, but they were in a strong enough position that they probably could have gotten favorable terms of peace. And what wound up happening in the middle of this is the Council of Moffs went to Pelion and they're like, we need to launch a full-scale offensive. We're going to destroy the New Republic. And Pelion's like, no, we have nowhere near the number of troops to do that. This is complete suicide and madness. And they're like, madness? This is the Empire. And Pelion's like, no, we're not going to be able to deal with this. I'm not going to take part of this. And they're like, if you're not going to take part of this, we know someone who will. So they bring Daala back, and they give her command of like a shitty fleet from the Deep Core. Because Pelion had pulled out of the Deep Core just because it's in the middle of nowhere, and he didn't want the Imperial remnant to be divided between that and the Outer Rim. So so that they decided to go to war. So they gave Daala like an out-of-date ragtag fleet. So she just attacked the Republic single-handedly. And Pelion was like, okay, I guess I have to take command. And he's like, this war is really retarded. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and win a couple token victories and then seek a ceasefire. And then we're going to try to negotiate a peace treaty. Because this whole thing is just fucking stupid. So they start the war, and the war immediately becomes a complete debacle. Pelion actually wins on his front. He actually gets a couple quick victories. He takes some territory in the Outer Rim, and he starts heading towards the core. But Daala loses her first battle, and her entire fleet gets completely destroyed while inflicting virtually no losses on the New Republic. And that frees up all the remaining New Republic forces to focus on Pelion. Because Pelion thought the only way he was going to actually get anywhere was if Daala could act as a meat shield and draw off some of the troops. Once again, his strategy was just to win a couple battles and then like just to win enough that he could seek peace on relatively favorable terms. However, because of Daala, that didn't wind up happening. So after Daala completely lost her fleet while failing to accomplish anything, she started crying again and escaped back into hyperspace. So the Empire was reduced to 8 sectors after that, and lost most of its tiny remaining fleet. Ultimately, they had to just withdraw. So there's the TIE Defenders. The TIE Defenders are really good. Probably the best fighter ever fielded in the Star Wars universe. Okay, so I'm doing pretty good against Pterodok. He was one of the major warlords. So after this, I think Pelion will join me in the Chimera.
I have the target in sight.
So they need loyal men, not good smart men. Yeah, Vlad, that's exactly the issue, and that's kind of why the Empire performed so poorly. Because it was designed to just be completely dependent on Pelion. Sorry, dependent on Palpatine. So everyone who was promoted was a complete bootlicker. Okay, so Delic Zeg points out Gil did have a couple Super Star Destroyers. Daala lost hers due to bullshit. Yeah, okay, so before Pelion withdrew from the Deep Core, he was able to scavenge together 3 Super Star Destroyers. And the 3 Super Star Destroyers he wound up using during the Arinda campaign to great effect. He blew up a bunch of New Republic capital ships and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, like I said, he managed to win that campaign without losing too much. So the Arinda campaign, I think one of the things that went so well about it. By the way, Arinda was a very strategically important planet on kind of the border between the Remnant and the New Republic. It had been the capital of the Imperial ruling council after Endor. So, yeah, so it had gotten... So, basically he just took that and the sector around it and just fortified. And ultimately, he kind of made clear that he didn't have any territorial ambitions beyond stabilizing the front. And the New Republic was just unwilling to turn its full war machine on, like, over a very kind of small sector of territory. But yeah, he had a couple Super Star Destroyers that he had kept in reserve, actually, and they were kind of hidden. He managed to hide them from the New Republic. And they pulled them out at kind of the last minute and succeeded in destroying them. So anyways, back to Daala. So after the Imperial Civil War, after the Zuzan Vong War, during the Zuzan Vong War, Daala somehow became the head of state of the Galactic Alliance, which is kind of a union state between the New Republic and the Empire, which never made a lot of sense to me. But so the Galactic Federation was ruled by a chief of state. And the Galactic Federation, yeah, so she became the chief of state for the Galactic Federation, and it proved to be an unmitigated disaster. Her rule was so bad that it was known as being one of the most corrupt governments in galactic history. Like I said, corruption was completely rampant. It was, she implemented anti-Jedi policies. Like, she exiled Luke Skywalker from, and she, like, went after the Jedi, etc. Her government was so incompetent and so blatantly corrupt that after she was removed from office in a coup, from then on the position was became a triumvirate, because they never wanted to have a singular head of state again, because they were afraid that the that another head of state would be as incompetent as she was. So after that happened, the Jedi removed her from a coup to widespread acclaim, and then she rage quit yet again and fled into the depths of space. However, she would come back once more. Basically, at that point, Jagged Fell, I think it was going to take control of the Empire, or was in charge of the Empire. And yeah, so Jagged Fell had managed to take control of the Empire, and he was kind of liberalizing things. In particular, the Fell... I'll have to do a video on the Fell Empire once I know a lot more about it. But he had, under the Fell Empire, a lot of the human-centric stuff had been abolished. So, like, discrimination against aliens, it was still kind of a human-centric empire, but, like, just blatant slavery and that kind of... No, sorry, Pelion got rid of slavery, sorry. But most of the excesses of the Galactic Empire got abolished under the Fells, etc. And Daala kind of objected to that because she wanted a more militaristic policy. So she ran against Jagged Fell in an Imperial election, and she got horribly, just utterly devastated in the Imperial election. Actually, the person who won the Imperial election, I think, was one of Pelion's illegitimate children. He had at least 2 illegitimate children, because women really liked the mustache, and women really liked the uniform, I guess. So he wound up winning the Galactic the Imperial election. And then eventually Jagged Fell became Emperor of the Fell Empire. What's really cool about the Fell Empire is the first Emperor, Jagged Fell, married Han Solo and Leia's daughter, Jania Solo. So the Fell Emperors are also descendant from the Solos. From the Solos and the Skywalkers. And because of that, all of the Fell Emperors are Force sensitive, and they were all trained as Imperial Knights, which is awesome. It's kind of too bad during the what happened with Rusin, because during the Dark Age of the Republic, what wound up happening was, during the New Sith Wars, which happened about 1,000 years before the series, the Republic basically collapsed before the Sith Empire also collapsed, and everybody went on to become kind of independent warlords and have all these independent kingdoms. And the Sith would just kind of periodically go into systems, raid it, kill everybody, take everything that wasn't bolted down, and leave. So what wound up happening is the Jedi kind of stepped up and took a lot more direct political power within the Republic. And for a couple hundred years, there were Jedi Masters would serve as chancellors. So Jedi would kind of periodically show up and save systems that were under assault by the Sith. And the local people were so grateful that they started to give the Jedi castles and manors. So you got this phenomenon of the Jedi Lords. So you would have Jedi who would have titles like Count, Duke, Prince, King, and they would rule over planets, and they would in many cases become dynasties. So in some systems you would have Jedi princes who would rule over them. And what's interesting is almost in none of these cases was it that the Jedi took power. The local population was fed up with kind of incompetent, weak rule, and they wanted a Force user and someone who is deemed to be not corrupt because of their adherence to the Jedi Code to rule over them. So yeah, so you had Jedi Lords. Yeah, they still held to most of the Jedi Code and etc. And they were still light-siders. They just kind of took more secular power. The Order was very militarized during this period. Like the head of the Jedi Order during this period was Lord Hoth, who was a stone-cold badass. But yeah, so ultimately the Jedi Lords were cast down during the Ruusan Reformation, which happened after the final defeat of the Sith at the hands of Darth Bane. If you read any of the Jedi Academy stuff, they talk about the Valley of the Jedi, which is on Ruusan, and was the... So they didn't go more towards the gray side. Yeah, gray is more... In the Star Wars universe, gray Jedi mainly use the light side of the Force. They just don't adhere to the Jedi Code strictly. So, like, the Imperial Knights were generally considered to be gray Jedi, but the Imperial Knights were light side users. And in fact, the Imperial Knights had standing orders to kill the fell Emperor should he fall to the dark side. It's more gray Force users just don't use the dark side. Is kind of, yeah, I think what it was. So I was thinking about it, and I think I understand why the Jedi are taught to repress emotions such as love. I think it's because Force users just feel emotions a lot more powerful than normal people do. So like the Jedi feel more rage, they feel more sorrow, they feel more fear, and their emotions have a direct effect on the Force. And strong emotions make it very easy for the dark side to take a hold of you. Do you play more movie Battles 2 for Jedi Knight Academy? No, but I read the books recently. So I read the Jedi Academy. Well, it's the Dark Forces trilogy. I read the trilogy of books based off of it.
Where'd he go? Nowhere to run.
But in general, like, a lot of people in these circles are really anti-Jedi. But I don't know, the Jedi are kind of based. Like, there's very little evidence that the Jedi ever were corrupt or, like, to a large extent, or they ever really abused their power. If anything, their biggest problem was they didn't get involved enough in secular matters and didn't really directly govern the galaxy enough. Neon Ghoul sends a $5 super chat. Thank you, I really appreciate that. Would it be interesting if the Sith of old, Malgus, or other ancient Sith that somehow survived through the current centuries return in current timeline? Yeah, I just don't think they will, because they got rid of the Sith. Like, there aren't Sith anymore. You have, what's his name? Snooky. Snooky's not a Sith. Kylo Ren isn't a Sith. They're kind of gone. What Kylo Ren is a Dark Jedi. Now, the term Dark Jedi basically refers to... Wow. Okay, I'm going to reload that. Fucking auto-resolve. Auto-resolve is such ass in this game.
Reinforcements available. Tactical battle imminent.
Yeah, Dark Jedi is basically a Force user that uses the dark side and isn't a Sith. I guess is how it's normally described. So, like, Jarek would be a Dark Jedi, etc. Doesn't that disbalance the Force? Sorry, Vlad, what are you referring to that disbalances the Force? By the way, if you want to watch me on Twitch, that helps out me towards me getting affiliate status. Let me just see here, streaming on Twitch. I'm gonna just post on my Facebook wall. Also, please click the follow button. The Sith have been broken before in the lore. Usually a ghost of an ancient Sith Lord tries to revive the Sith Order. Yeah, it's not going to... I don't think it's going to happen, because they don't give a shit about anything in the reboot.
Reporting.
The reboot is bullshit. Okay, so here's how I would have done it. So if they had have said, look, Argent, the canon at the moment has a lot of issues. There's a lot of stuff that contradicts other stuff. A lot of stuff doesn't really make sense. I'd say, okay, yeah, but that's the same. Anything that's like a big series, be it like Lord of the Rings, be it Star Trek, be it Dune, Naruto, any big series is going to have a lot of stuff from different sources that contradicts each other. Fair enough. I mean, that just kind of comes with the territory. So, that being said, what I would say is you take a tiered canon approach, which is what most people do and what they used to do, which is the highest canon is the movies. Nothing can trump the movies. Then after the movies comes things George Lucas has said or approved directly. So that would be stuff he said in interviews, stuff like Shadows of the Empire, which George Lucas gave full approval to and said this is canon, but now it's not canon, despite George Lucas saying it's canon. Then after that, you would have stuff like the movie novelizations, stuff Timothy Zahn wrote, that kind of thing. Stuff like Darth Plagueis, and you just have those things take precedence over other stuff. And I didn't see what was like so bad with that. That seemed like a pretty good like strategy to me, but for whatever reason they weren't going for that. They were just going for shit and to make a quick buck.
Yes, sir.
Anything for this. Am I right?
Area,
so
heading out.
yeah, like that's what they could have done, but they decided not to do that. Instead, we just have bullshit. We have garbage like The Last Jedi and feces like The Force Awakens. As to which is worse out of the two, it's really hard for me to say. I would personally say I kind of hate The Force Awakens more. I think The Last Jedi was less boring than The Force Awakens, even if it was a worse movie. I just, like, words can't describe how much I hate The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens was, I think, more painful for me to watch than The Last Jedi was. It's very, like, difficult to describe how bad I think those two movies are. But I think The Force Awakens is a little worse than The Last Jedi. A friend of mine thinks the worst one is Rogue One. So he said Rogue One was the single most soulless, unbearable film he ever watched. So I don't know if Disney will eventually have to give up. Because basically one of the things I really hate is about the new about their reboot is they show it the extended universe. So if you want to write something in the extended universe, you're not allowed to anymore. They've banned people. They shut it down. So let's say like Timothy Zahn wanted to write another Thrawn book in what I would consider canon. He's not allowed to do it anymore. He's banned from doing that kind of thing. Which is bullshit. Like I don't get it. Why would he be? Why did they have to ban the old stuff? I mean, it's nonsense.
Right away, sir. Squad, advance. Firing. Affirmative.
So I think I may have managed to win this. I need to get some better... Fuck, Okay, they have to nerf those. Those missile tanks are overpowered as fuck.
Take cover.
They have way too much health, and they do way too much damage to infantry.
Moving to that area, sir. Heading out.
Bombing run available.
Fallout troops. Let's move out.
Holy fuck, they have a lot of
Bombers
units.
at the ready.
Okay, just get out of the way. I've lost this one.
Keep going.
Initiate
Okay, I'm
bombing
gonna give
run.
up. I'm just gonna reload and wait till I get some more units. Okay.
Reporting.
Recruitment canceled. Building under construction.
No, we can't have nice things because of Disney.
Tactical battle imminent.
Oh no, am I getting attacked? Fuck.
Enemy unit sighted.
I copy.
But I mean, the new so-called canon doesn't even like
This
make
way.
sense a lot of the time. What is the explanation given for how the Empire
Over
lost?
there.
Because it doesn't
Moving
seem
out.
like the Imperial Civil War happened.
Order
It seemed like the
acknowledged.
Republic largely won a conventional military
Commander.
victory.
Advancing.
Also, what the fuck happened to the New Republic? They lost their capital world, and the rest of their government just
Turret
collapsed?
constructing.
Like, I don't really get it. So, like, they lose one planet, and everybody else just gave up? They lost in 1 year. How the fuck did they lose in 1 year?
Ready for recon.
They had a huge... The Starfleet
Gearing
was
up.
like...
Construction
Moving.
complete.
Secondary
there.
position.
Was like 70,000...
Construction complete.
Was like 17,000
Watching for the
Star
enemy.
Destroyers. And it doesn't seem like there was that much of an Imperial victory. Like, the Civil War. Like, the Empire in the original
Awaiting
lost after, over time, and there was logical reasons for
Target
it.
confirmed.
It was very clear that,
Advance.
it was very clear in the original that the Empire, for a very long amount of time, had the military forces,
Load your weapons.
up until the time of Palpatine's return, if they had have just managed to get their act together, they could have probably beaten the New Republic in direct battle.
Ready to move.
But what wound up
Down
happening
area.
was just the
Report
Civil
order
War and the
acknowledged.
ongoing just
Weapons ready.
infighting was what killed them. So, I mean, there was very clear reasons as to why they lost the Civil War. It wasn't just like it just happened.
Roger.
But I don't. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Attack.
Why are the Republic doing better than me? Why are the Stormtroopers failing so badly?
Open fire.
Okay. Well, I think I've just lost this campaign, to be honest. I'm just gonna give up. I can't win. It's just been a complete disaster. So, this is, I think, the hardest campaign, to be fair. Maybe I'll just do a space battle. Let's see here. I'm gonna just play. Is there just a 2-player? I'll do Battle over Geonosis. I'll do that. I'll play as the New Republic against the Imperial Remnant.
Ready for action.
Okay, so that's kind of cool. So I start out with a defense platform. So let's see. You can build ion cannon. I'll just immediately up to level 2, and I'll go and I'll capture
Standing
some
by.
of these.
We're going in. Plotting course. Station ready.
Constructing unit.
Yeah, at that point though, there was no way I was gonna
Ready
win.
for orders.
I had kind of
Reporting in.
lost
En
everything.
route. Orbital command available. Squadron reporting.
I like Far Cry 5 quite a
Ready
bit
for
actually.
command.
It's a lot better. It's better than I thought it would. I still think Far Cry 4 is a lot better,
Roger that.
but I do like Far
Order
Cry
received.
5.
Proceeding. Squadron, move
They
out.
improved some of the mechanics, but I thought
Asteroid
overall
ahead.
it was not
Your
as good.
space station is under
Right away.
attack.
So there we go. Tech level up.
Tech upgrade
Merchant
complete.
space dock.
Awaiting orders. Moving out.
Apparently, like, Jakku was their last
Construction.
stand.
Heading out.
How the Empire got to a
Choose
last
your
stand that
reinforcements.
rapidly, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but nothing about
Reinforcements
that whole time period makes any sense. So
Unit in
I'm gonna build
production.
some Corellian corvettes. Okay, cool. I can bring in Telco Selco, Tycho Selco, or however you pronounce his name.
At your command.
Let's see, and I'll build a missile defense platform.
Construction complete. Beginning construction.
So I think they opted just to spam cheat units.
Ready for
Well, I
action.
opted to upgrade faster. So I'm just
Underway.
going to jump in my Corellian
into position.
corvettes. And they should be able to just shred those,
At your command. Armed and
their
ready.
fighter core.
Station
Let's
ready.
see here. So what shall build another
Vehicle in
Corellian? No, I'll build Talon card, I guess.
Constructing unit.
Your orders, sir.
Construction
Head full.
complete.
Or can only fighters capture
copy.
these things? I'm not sure.
Ball out.
Missing. Okay, so they haven't even programmed that in
Orbital
yet.
Space
command
station
available.
damaged.
Build
Unit
that and
in
I'll build
production.
some more. Can
Assault
I not
frigate here.
capture that? There we go.
Building started.
I mean, just the Empire
Choose
had
your
so much
reinforcements.
more than the Rebellion.
At your
It's just
command.
hard for me to believe that they'd lose
Reporting.
nearly as
Let's
fast
move
as
out.
they did. Regardless as how, Okay, so there's the wild card.
Moving out.
The cool thing about the
Ready for
wild
action.
card is it has turbo lasers. Despite being a frigate
I got my
class,
prospector.
a frigate-sized ship, it has, it has turbo lasers. Which is very unusual
Yes,
for a
sir.
ship that size. Also, it's just a cool
Constructing.
name. I think my favorite name for a ship is either the Invisible Hand or
Construction
the
complete.
there's the Invisible Hand, and then there's
Our
the
space station is under attack.
Lady Luck. I think Lady Luck is my favorite name of a
Keep
ship,
your eyes open for those fighters. At your command.
which is the name of Lando's ship. Let's see, I can get the Millennium Falcon.
Construction
I can
complete.
get some better cruisers. I'll build a
Unit
couple
in
A-Wings.
production.
A-Wings are really good. Actually, no, I'll
Unit
build some more
cancelled.
Corellian
Unit
corvettes.
in production. Vehicle in production.
I've got an economic advantage, so I might as well just press it at this point in time.
Yes,
Send the
Commander.
X-Wings
Let's
back.
go. At your command. On my way.
Yeah, see, Corellian corvettes are really good. They're just going to shred these TIE fighters. Because they have, I think, all light armament is how they
Receiving
work.
message. Ready.
So
Decoding
let's see
transmission.
here. I'll get Garnbell
Unit in
Iblis, I
production.
guess. And I'll get Tycho
Requesting
Selko,
assistance.
who winds up marrying Winter, Leia's best friend.
Our
That ship
space
repair
station
cell.
is under attack.
Try and draw their fire.
Yep,
Nebulon
see, I
being
managed to
frigate.
shred all of that. And there's Roan Felt, so I'll take him down next.
Should we go around for another pass?
Looks like your mouse is offset. Yeah, it's having trouble correctly positioning it, so yeah.
Construction complete.
Reporting for duty.
Oh, they managed to capture it. I don't think the merchant space dock does anything.
Reinforcements.
So that I get, oh, so that's Rogue Squadron, I guess. Yeah, okay, so I get Rogue Squadron, and I have Garnbell Iblis. Probably the best general the Republic
Ready
ever
for
had.
action.
The new Republic had. Let's see here. I can build dreadnoughts. I'll build an assault
Constructing
frigate.
unit.
Assault frigates are really good. Yeah, but Vlad, the whole Warlord thing, I don't think was ever established in the reboot.
Space station under
Oh, I
attack.
forgot I could upgrade my income rate.
Assault frigate here.
Building under
Okay,
construction.
I'll improve that.
Moving ahead.
Frigate.
Station ready. Orbital command available.
Oh, let's see here. And
Construction complete.
maybe I'm not sure what I should do now. Maybe start mass producing B-wings. I'll start mass producing B-wings. That's probably a good idea. Because I need something like with a little heavier punching power to go after their headquarters. To go after their defense platform. Let's see here.
Space
And I'll
station
upgrade
under
my
attack.
credit rate.
Squadron reporting orders.
If I buy you Jedi Knight Academy, will you play Movie Battles 2? I don't even know what Movie Battles 2 is. I might.
Orders received.
Okay, let's see.
Roger. Squadron reporting.
Reinforcements en route. Reinforcements.
This will send my B-Wings. Try to take out their shield generator at least.
Squadron reporting. Shield generator.
Reinforcements.
So it looks like I managed to draw their turbolator file. Fire. I might lose Garndel Iblis, but it looks like I'm just about to win this. Should be able to blow up their shield generator pretty quick. Yeah, now they're crippled. Probably next thing is, let's see, their fighter bay. Probably should have played this on normal. That's a lot. It's a lot easier on easy than it is on normal. I kind of hate games where there's a massive just jump in difficulty between the different levels. Like I like it when easy's like a little easier and hard's a little harder, but when it's just extreme, it's just kind of annoying. But there we go.
We are victorious.
Okay, well that's good for today. Hope you guys had fun, and I'll talk to you later. Oh, by the way, remember, follow